Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Senor Nerd Podcast. I have here with me Ramon,
Hey,
Raul,
Howdy, howdy.
and today we're here to talk about Succession, Season 4. And holy hell, guys, Logan.
uh,
Logan has been making this show freaking incredible.
I
um,
think
I
you're a
don't,
little
I don't,
confused, buddy. A little confused.
are we not doing Succession Season 4? Is that not why we're here?
I think that's your side podcast.
I think there's like with your little other buddies, like the whole different project you got going on. Now I feel
Uh,
offended, man. I feel cheated
uh,
on.
Damn it.
I do want to watch that show at some point though.
Okay. So what are we here to talk about?
My hero. There you go. My Hero
Okay.
Academia.
Okay. Let me start all over. I'll edit it all out. So today, to, so today we're here to talk about My Hero Academia. It's more specifically season 1, and this is an anime that's still going on. It's very popular. I foresee that it's going to be at least a couple more seasons before it wraps up. But man, from the place the show started to where it's right now, Ramon, I can't wait for you to start watching this because, again, me and Ro twisted your arm and we made you watch season 1 of My Hero Academia. And Ramon, tell us what you think about My Hero Academia season 1, and feel free to trash it all you want.
Can I say that I just feel like I'm being targeted here? Like every other episode, it's like Ramon. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, for it's kind of anyone listening out there, it's just these guys are taking me for a wild ride with some of the better, best anime out there, and I've been waiting to get into this My Hero Academia. So I just started and just finished the first season, and man, okay, so can't lie right off the back after finishing Naruto all the way from beginning to end, finishing Shippuden, watching like a movie or two. Um, so hard to start over with something brand new because it's just not developed, it's not there yet. It's a lot of introduction, and needless to say, I know a lot of these animes, a lot of the things we talk about deal with like these like younger kids growing and being in school and stuff like that, but man, it's just like pushing me all the way back and starting over. But nonetheless, I finished the first season and I'm hooked. I mean, I'm definitely hooked. I see what the appeal and the draw to it is without even knowing too much. Obviously, I started seeing some of the introduction to the characters, people who I already kind of know a little bit of, like some spoilers that have been like kind of spoiled throughout. But even then, always start with a fresh mind. And I think this new exploration and actually getting to really know these people, it's been good so far. So I already have some favorites
No,
that I'm
nice.
excited to talk about, and I definitely have some definitely very impactful moments in the anime. But good start to begin with. But yeah, I don't know if you guys want to lead me into
No,
some other.
no. So me
Yeah.
and me and Ro actually, because you were watching it, we actually went back and watched the first season completely. So Ro, tell me what you thought about it now, looking back in the first season of it.
Yeah. So the cool thing with me is that I started watching this during the pandemic. I was able to binge like a great deal up until this last season, that came out. So I was hooked right away. And then now that I am pretty much caught up with the anime, going back to the beginning, it was good to see a lot of kind of what you somewhat forgot about, um, because something that I guess I saw again that I completely forgot about or made such a big reference of. So with One for All, um, where each person that gets a power, their quirk gets added to it,
Yeah.
or whatever. But the big thing that they expressed is the fact that each person makes One for All better, like overall. Even with All Might and then with Deku now,
Well,
so somehow Deku's gonna make One for All better too
well,
somehow.
I'm not gonna go into those crazy spoilers that you kind of just dropped in, of Ro. So hopefully Ramon, you forget whatever Ro said and don't
I
and
think it,
skip.
was, well, it talks about it.
No, yeah.
It talks about it, but in the long picture, you never would have guessed what the hell he's even trying to like reference. Like for me and you, that makes 100% sense. For anybody that it's currently watching the anime where we're at, But I mean, there are going to be things like that veterans like us are going to catch. Like for example, something that surprised me was that a lot of people in the My Hero Academia school, they knew about All Might's secrets, especially like the nurse, the one that kisses and heals.
Yeah.
She already knew that All Might had given Deku the quirk. So I'm like, okay, so like that kind of surprised me that this nurse already knows about the process about how to obtain one for all.
Oh,
So that
and the
was kind of
cop too.
well, yeah,
And
but I
the
mean,
principal, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't talking like about his like him losing the power, but just the idea of him like being, yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
him being able to transfer. Because I feel like later on in the seasons, it becomes more of a secret, or nobody ever talks about it besides people that really, really know, and you
Yeah.
understand why they're in that circle. Here, it feels like right in the beginning, like a lot of more people that I'm comfortable with know about it. But dude, just like Raul, man, like it's just so interesting to go back to the beginning, and I know when this is where I hate you guys because I started watching this when it first premiered. So I've been long time with My Hero Academia, and where I suffer is that I've watched season one and then probably waited 2 years before it came back, and then I wait 2 years for it to come back, and it's just
Same.
like I hate the fact that I haven't been able to binge this. Even Naruto was week by week by week by week. This is more like we're in the time period now where you just kind of take a pause, and I'm glad that's happening because the animation always it's better because of that. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
but
I'm not jealous. I really definitely
Yeah.
enjoy the ability to be able to watch these things and binge them. And if anything, like, man, I'm really excited for these future generations to be a bunch of like little nerds like us, because it's so accessible. And then honestly, like thinking back to as to why I wasn't able to watch these as much as busy life, school, and everything, and it was just always tough. But now, definitely great. But yeah, so back to the topic. Absolutely, like Raul, like what you said. Um, I feel like one of the first things that I've seen images of all these guys. I've seen Deku like doing some crazy stuff. Like obviously, All Might is one of the bigger faces of My Hero Academia from an outsider perspective. And honestly, I didn't know what that relationship was even about. Like even just the name itself, like it kind of gave me to it had to do something with the school and kind of like building of superhero powers and stuff like that. But to, to be honest, that was like the first and most impactful part of season one was just learning about the relationship between All Might and Deku. And it was just that, right? Like right away, I fell in love with Midoriya, with Deku, because I mean, I guess you start watching it and you see it's like, hey, all these guys for the majority of the part have quirks, so it's kind of like not cheating, but they're handed this power and it's great. Midoriya, on the other hand, doesn't have it. So right away, I'm like, oh, so here's the interesting part, right? This is where we're gonna get into how the show becomes good and how we learn how to like really believe in him and really get to him. And yeah, like they introduce All Might, you kind of get that relationship, and especially when he All Might starts challenging Deku to like really, like strive to be that hero that he wants to be after kind of proving himself when I guess he tries to defend what's his buddy's name,
um,
oh my god, I'm
Bakugo.
spacing out. Yeah, Bakugo, like after he
yeah.
helps him with the slime like monster, even though he has no quirks. He believes in him, and then that's where he starts the whole like, okay, so maybe you can do this, but this is what you gotta do, and you gotta prove yourself. And that scene where he's kind of made to clean up that beach that's full of garbage, that was freaking hard work, man. Like I love watching that because it wasn't just like, hey, here's my power. Here's the like my little hair swallow. You have the All Might's magic, the one for all power. It was like, hey, no, put in the
Yeah.
work,
Eat
do
me.
this, yeah, right, eat me. Which I have some funny questions about that later. But no, yeah, like and, freaking Midoriya, like definitely proved himself. Like he cleaned that whole beach. Like he was jacked after that. Like they show
I
that
Yeah.
scene where he's
know.
like shirtless, and you could just see that, and I was like, holy crap, man, this kid definitely worked for it. And I think that was like the main thing off this first season that I really kind of took, was just kind of building that relationship with these characters, especially like the main, or I assume it is going to be the main character in general. But yeah, I mean, I love it already for that sense because I already have someone that I can root for. And then I also got to learn about this, the all for all power and kind of what that's about and how it starts, taking effect and losing effect with All Might. So that's something cool already.
No, and I think the one thing, Ramon, that where I feel like All Might kind of screwed Deku even after giving him that much training is that he immediately gave him his power and then he sent him off to the entry exam. And I'm like, dude, like you didn't even give him like working for a month about your quirk, and immediately Deku breaks his whole
Oh,
arm and feet. trying to save that his classmate. And I think that's the one part that I'm like, man, I mean, I guess for the show it makes sense, but in reality, like, what a terrible teacher, man. Like, give me this great power and not even show me how to use it. But Ro, like, what else, man? Like, I mean, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. So what
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
So the other cool thing, especially because of kind of what I recently saw too in the recent episodes,
Mhm.
is I had forgotten about how much emphasis they put on like how much of a symbol All Might was, um, because of like he was the symbol of what, justice or
Peace, justice,
peace.
peace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the symbol of peace. And then and how much like his smile came into play, and then I
Oh.
forgot about his costume that had the thing in the ears or whatever.
That the mom
Oh,
made.
and then how like Deku's costume like was basically
Yeah,
copied
yeah,
his. Yeah, that was pretty funny too because he
yeah,
makes that like comment that he's like,
yeah.
oh,
Like,
I see,
dude,
fanboy.
Which
yeah,
which is kind of cool, Ramon. Because at first you're kind of laughing at his costume, but especially where we're at right now, though, his costume is
all looks
freaking
badass.
dark.
Yeah,
It looks badass dark. So I can't wait. And you probably already been spoiled by toys, but it's freaking cool the way his costume looks.
yeah.
It's the same design, just it's shown in a different perspective, just based on
Ooh,
how his
Yeah.
emotions are. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
chills.
and that's part of the reason why the smile part of All Might like it kind of hit me too. It was like, wow, this is kind of like the beginning. This is why part of the reason why All Might was the symbol of peace is because he always maintained that persona. He always maintained that character of the like Superman type of character that he's indestructible. He can beat anybody, and he's always smiling, kind of thing. And then it like in a way like it kind of like it's it might be a little bit of a spoiler of tone, but like because it's gonna get darker, Ramon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
just
like it kind of gave me the like it made me feel bad for kind of what happens later on because like this is where everything started. Everyone's so like optimistic and so like bright eyed and bushy tailed, and then kind of like where we are in the last season, it
yeah.
was like it was really cool to kind of see the comparison and kind of what they're trying to get back to is
Yeah.
Yeah.
that optimism and that happiness that it symbolized.
No, and Ramon, like for example, in this first season, nobody has died. Wait till some of these
Oh
more
no.
seasons start happening, and then you're gonna start counting the bodies that are dropping.
Oh,
Because that's gonna happen, man. That's kind of like what I like about this world, that it does bring some realism. It's not just like, hey, let's be a superhero and nothing bad's ever gonna happen to us. Like, no, people die, heroes are gonna get killed. There's gonna be heroes that are gonna quit on the spot. You're gonna meet people that the parents have been killed being heroes. So it's just gonna get a lot of dark tones. So anytime that you feel like, oh well, this is kind of getting kind of cheesy because in my opinion, the My Hero Academia part, the academia specifically, is what kills
yeah.
the show. Imagine if Naruto was called Ninja Academy and it focused a lot more on the academy part rather than them going out and doing things. This is kind of what the show's kind of doing. It still takes the time to do the student relationship and the teachers, and I do like some of it, but sometimes it gets a little bit over the top, and you'll see that as the season progresses. But every
Yeah,
time you feel like, oh, this is just not maybe what I'm feeling, just keep going, man, because I'm telling
yeah.
you, it's like mandatory stuff that they have to do with the academia, and then once they jump over the academia and actually get into like what's really important, that's when it gets
The
really, really
hero
good.
world part of it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, I think you're right. Like, definitely watching the first season, and again, talking about like going from an anime from like Naruto and going into this, especially Naruto at peak and at the end and
Yeah.
everything else with like such dark content and everything going on. Like, yeah, of course, it feels like very childish, like this first season.
Hmm.
But even like All Might was one of the things that also grounded me to like, okay, I'm really interested because again, my experience or exposure to All Might is this like this supreme being, like kind of a Superman type of like
Yeah.
hero. And if again, don't judge me, guys. If it wasn't for Fortnite, I would have never even known that. I would have never even known that All Might had a different part of like a different version of him when he doesn't have his like power like activated. And so when I started watching the first season, I was really excited to see what that was about, and actually started seeing that and seeing how he shared his power with Deku, and then seeing how like that's clearly gonna cause him to go through some kind of like I mean, either losing the power or some kind of like health damage. I'm really invested in that because you're already seeing him by the end of the season. He's bleeding every other time, because of the power that he shared with Deku Midoriya. He's already like can't even hold his like all might power at the maximum. And so I like that too, because that's already like grounding the show to like, hey, it's not just about like kids learning how to be heroes. It's about this dude who was like the best of the best and now is sort of dying, or at least is losing his like impact. That's pretty cool.
No, Ramon.
Himself.
Next time we play Apex, you're gonna be so jealous because now you're gonna understand why I wanted that
Oh no.
My Hero Academia Mirage skin, because I love My Hero Academia. I love Deku. This is why I'm glad you bought me the My Hero Academia skin. For Fortnite when I do play Fortnite. So I'm thankful for that because like again, you kind of starting to see like, oh, this is why he was so excited to get in. This is what it brought joy to him. Dude, one of the characters that I was surprised that I actually liked a lot in the first season, especially as the seasons progress, I think my taste for her has kind of gone down to the point where I really don't like her and I kind of don't ever want them to get together. But Uradaka and Deku have a really great relationship in the beginning, man. And I actually like the way she's portrayed. She comes out very lovely, very confident, very skilled, very like, hey, Deku, you saved my life. Thank you. And I do find like a lot of cuteness to her. But I don't know. I guess now that I'm going to do this rewatch, I'm going to actually pay attention to where my love for her starts going away, because I think as the seasons go on, like, I don't know. I don't no longer want Deku to kind of get with her. Like, it's kind of like Naruto got with whatever and Hinata. Like, I don't want that to happen. And I don't understand where in this show that happened. But I don't know if you kind of had some feelings like that, Ro, with any other character.
I think what ends up kind of happening to her is a little bit of her becoming more helpless. Like even though she is getting better, like throughout the show, she I because it's hard because Deku has the one for all power, so that's All Might's power. So All Might's the number one hero, and he gets that, and he's learning how to like use it, and he's like improving through time. So he's gonna be progressing a lot faster than everybody else. So even if everybody else is getting better, like he's getting better by such a higher rate that he's kind of leaving everybody else in the dust. And there are some that kind of keep up a little bit, but it.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there more to her? I mean, obviously you're saying that you already kind of fell out of love with her like over the time. But I mean, right now my only experience with her is the Deku's like little relationship with her, of like him just kind of crushing on her. But I actually really like her power of just being able to do like zero gravity and anything that she touches.
Because you'll see another character that will take her power, and you'll see how deadly it can be to all of a sudden lift 100 people up in there and then just drop them in a second. So you'll kind of see that. And then something that I don't think it's spoiled from, but some of these characters at a certain point, their quirk starts developing even more from when they started. That's not. I'm not trying to tell you that's going to happen to her, but I'm just saying like there are characters where it's going to be like, oh, okay, like him, he got even better looking or cooler because his quirk started like evolving as they started doing more crazy things in the show.
My quirk is puberty.
And you also see that the equipment and kind of what they use and how they fight crime or whatever like also develops because they get other things to either augment their power or to supplement parts of their superheroing that's kind of lacking because their quirk is kind of just one-sided or isn't as universal.
And you know what? That's another thing that's kind of really enjoyable to like watch within the first season. Like again, I already mentioned already how I feel like it's kind of like not silly, but it's just part of the world that everybody like a lot of people have quirks. So then you're kind of like, oh man, like a lot of people have quirks, but it's kind of cool to kind of see. Yeah, but it's kind of cool. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I remember watching it and I'm like, well, dang, Deku, like Midoriya, you suck. Like whatever unfortunate events led to your genetics is not producing that. But no, like it is really interesting to like start seeing some of their abilities because there's some that I feel like are super OP, amazing that I could see the potential and I could only imagine what it is later on in the seasons. And there's other people that I'm just like
who?
Oh, like Todoroki. Like
Yeah.
that guy
Oh
has
yeah.
to. I mean, and they talked about it. Like they're like, oh, his power is like freaking crazy because he freezes the whole building, and then right away you're like, dude, that's like freaking. And that's not even it, right? He can also like heat things. Oh yeah, because he can heat things up too. So
Yeah.
that's insane.
Because you haven't seen his heating
he
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
he got in through the recommendation.
Yeah.
Oh,
Him and
that's right.
the
That's
girl
right.
did. Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
dude. Because you know something that I kind of failed to mention though, but anytime that you think like, oh, Deku is gonna keep breaking bones or they're gonna keep healing it, it actually, you know, without spoiling too much for you, Ramon, the more he does it, it starts getting to the point where we're at right now. He's not even able to go 100% because of the fact that he's broken his arm so much that they tell him like, hey, unless you start working on some other like way of doing things, it is gonna be to the point where if you break it one more time, you will lose your hands 100%. Like they will either
That's
have to be
crazy.
cut away or something. But you know, he keeps getting told like, don't break them. So you will see that there will be consequences for the more he keeps doing this.
See, and that's awesome to know because like first season, I'm already kind of thinking that oh, he's gonna overcome that, and then he's gonna get to the point where he's powerful enough that he just doesn't have to worry about like him hurting himself because it's quite funny right now to see it, right? And I think there was a scene. I mean, it's kind of funny because most of the time the animation is like his arms like freaking noodling,
Yeah.
noodling
Yeah,
around.
that's exactly yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously before we get to this character too, but like I know when they're working with Eraserhead on the one challenge, and he has to throw the ball, and he finally like thinks to like just transfer his like one for all power just to his finger. That was great. That's kind of what I expected. I expected for him to like be able to learn how to do it, and then little by little be in control of it. But I'm excited to know that he is going to be struggling still, even with other like things
Yeah.
that would affect him.
Because yeah, what makes Deku strong is not the fact that he has All Might's power, even though he does. It's the fact that he has to learn how to
Yeah.
like not use it 100% and do it in other forms. So I like that about his character progress because he's not just going to be another copy of All Might.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even now in the last season, which I think is like season 6, like he still doesn't have full control of the power,
Oh, dang. Okay.
and he's super powerful still.
Super. Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
something that I really want to talk to you guys about, and this is like I'm 100% serious, but I don't know the time period. Like it's funny because in the beginning they say like, hey, at one point this was the first person that developed a quirk, but from what I can tell, that person was at a hospital, the civilization, there was buildings, and I know for a fact that it's just like maybe 100, like maybe like 200 years where we're at. So it's like, does this society, does technology not change? It's more about like people have been developing more of their hero power. So like the world has stayed the same. And I mean, even us that we're living in this world, like I necessarily as much as technology will change, technically in 100, 150, like the buildings will still be the same. They're not really going to change. But, that's something that kind of like, Ro, when you were watching, you kind of thought about, or I've been thinking about that. It's like, some of these, you start learning more about All Might and the previous holders or, people. You're just like, okay, well, in order for that to happen, there had to have been like 20 years or 30 years. So it's just like it has to have been where like Quirks came out and then like 200 years passed. I still wish there was more of an explanation, even though we don't need it. We definitely don't need it, but it's something that definitely I keep thinking about.
Well. I know something that happened. At least with
We,
One
and
for All.
And we can talk about it after the episode so we don't spoil anything, man. But that's something that I just, from my first view, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
how long has it been from the first quirk that
Yeah.
started? And where Deku said it's like been 100 years, 200 years.
No, yeah. So I never thought about it, and I never considered that it would be such a thing too. Because but you're right, because from when the quirks first kind of like appeared to now, like it had to be generations.
Yeah.
Like there's no way it wasn't generations. And
No,
then also,
definitely.
Especially
and
to
then
the point where you have in that whole academia and a bunch of
Yeah.
you have a whole
whole
like schooling
infrastructure. Yeah.
system for it. Yeah, and then there's multiple schools too. Like
Yeah.
I know I saw that it was like different schools
Yeah,
that people can
yeah,
go to.
and then there's different countries that have schools too.
Yes. I mean,
They
the
find out.
most technologically advanced thing that we've seen. Well, I guess maybe not because I wasn't paying
Cell
attention to
phones.
that kind of detail. But
The,
like
the
they
school.
had the robots when they're doing the exam, and especially
Yeah,
that big old robot that freaking Midoriya
the
like
0.1.
freaking one punches. Like like that's advanced technology. Like I mean, we have robots in our modern day society, but we're not using them in
Yeah.
that capacity.
So
So it's crazy.
So no, man. I'm hoping that maybe anybody listening kind of did start kind of thinking about that, and if for some reason they do have a good, smart solution of how long the time period, like feel free to tell me because I definitely would love to know more about that. And Ramon, going to your point about Eraserhead, like I love that
Oh
character
yeah.
a lot
Oh God.
because he kind of gives you the Itachi, probably like second daddy that you're probably looking for. But I will tell you that after maybe the first season, they start using him more for his power than his fighting skills. So that's something that kind of has like let me down that Eraserhead hasn't gotten like these crazy action fights like he did in
Yeah.
the first season. It's more about how to utilize his power because his power, believe it or not, is super, super unique and special. And everybody kind of,
And useful.
and
The
super useful,
whole
man.
what
Especially
is he
when you're fighting
done?
bad guys. Yeah.
He takes
Yeah.
one quirk, or he takes their quirk away for a limited amount of time, right? That's crazy. I mean, no, and you said Kakashi was the one that you referred to, like the one of the episodes that we recorded before. Like he did remind me of Kakashi, like Sensei, because he was definitely
Yeah.
very like cool, kind of like that,
Sleeping.
sleeping late to class, or no, he just
Yeah.
seemed disinterested. Like I know at first I was so confused. I'm like, what is the deal with this guy and his like freaking? Well, at first I thought it was like a cat.
The
Yeah,
sleeping
yeah.
bag. Yeah.
But at first I was like, is this a caterpillar costume? Like it took me one quick second to be like, oh my god, he's like
A
retrieving
bug's
into his
life.
sleeping bag. but then later I think there was like an episode where he's like, all right, you guys when they're trying to figure out who's gonna be the class like representative, and he's like, you guys figure this out, I don't even care. And then he sips up his like sleeping bag and then he just like squirms away, and I'm like, dude, this guy's hilarious. And especially because by comparison his powers are awesome.
To defend the sleeping bag, I think they do make it a point to say that he works mostly at night. So I
Oh,
think
okay,
that's why
okay,
he's so
okay.
tired in the day because
That makes
nobody knows
sense.
who he is. He's more of a ninja, I guess.
I mean, he was a fun character to like really meet right away because you see him with his like red eyes. Like, I mean, right away I got that. Again, he's like super cool. Maybe like obviously he knows what he's doing, but everybody's like, who's this guy? Like, who's this creep? Who's this weird looking dude with the red eyes? And then like real quick you learn who he is, and not even that too, but just kind of like that sensei or that like master teacher like relationship that he builds right away. Like I know he tells them in when they're doing their exams about like whoever's last gets kicked out or expelled, and I know he
I got you.
doesn't expel Midoriya, and you think that is just like, oh, he was kind of kidding, but then All Might mentions that he never lies about that he does kick people out, and so
which,
he does believe in Midoriya. Like, so I'm like,
which,
oh, that's awesome. Like,
which I kind of, I'm gonna use my cuss word. I kind of call bullshit on that the idea that he expelled the whole class.
Class.
I'm like, okay, dude, come on, get your ass out of here.
well, that's like a Kakashi Sensei too, like, right? Like supposedly he also didn't like pass certain
True.
people, and,
Yeah.
and so like I mean, yeah, like I see the similarities, but to be honest, like the powers and everything he does, like yeah, once we get later into the season and he's doing his abilities when he's fighting off those enemies,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, this guy's awesome.
Before we keep talking about it, because I'm definitely enjoying this conversation, I think we're still missing a lot of things to talk about. Ro, do you remember what I told you when I first wanted you to be on my podcast? I don't know if you recall that. This is what you said to me. You
That
said,
looked hot in those pants.
"Wait, what?"
Never mind. What did you tell me?
I don't know. So when I first asked you to be on my podcast, I remember you said I'll do it, but it'll be three conditions. It has to be quick, it has to be fast, and it has to be raw. And
Whoa.
Raul, I hope that I've kept my part of the deal, and I hope people are enjoying listening to us, and I hope people can follow us, give us a 5-star because I'm so happy that we get these opportunities to talk with each other. So just the idea of continuing to get 5 stars, continuing to get followers, that really makes me happy. And there's one promise that I'll tell you right now: we're never gonna ask people for anything. We're never gonna tell people like money financial. We're never gonna say like, hey, we're doing a Patreon and come pay for this. And I can guarantee you Ramon doesn't even know what a Patreon is, and if he does, his wife better start checking his bank statements, because that's a little bit of a red flag for Kiara. But
Don't look, baby,
again,
don't look.
we're doing this for fun. We're doing this to put it out there for you guys to like just have fun listening to us. And again, I'm hopeful that the audience is enjoying this. But let's continue this conversation, man, guys. And I hope you guys are still having fun doing these things with me.
Oh no,
Yeah.
absolutely, man. I really appreciate like everyone's support so far. I mean, this is definitely for fun, and we've been having a blast. But man, props to you, Carlos, because you have two people with the letter R names, and it's Ramon and Raul, and half the time you confuse us. And if you guys can see us, one's bald bald, one's not. Easy distinction. So if you check us out on Spotify, you can see our beautiful bearded faces. So,
which
anyway.
we'll probably be on YouTube soon enough. So that's another
shit.
place.
Okay.
Ooh.
But all right, let's continue this, man. And you know what? I'm gonna just say, talk about my favorite character, especially in the first season. Go ahead.
Before you get to that, another thing with Eraserhead too, that I think you guys missed when he's fighting the league when they invade
the Lego villains.
that dome. Yeah, I forgot who mentions this, but with Eraserhead, the teacher, he somebody mentions the fact that he doesn't necessarily always fight like a bunch
Close
of guys.
combat.
Yeah. That his thing is more like infiltration, and kind of like espionage type of stuff. So that's probably why he works at night. That's why nobody probably knows him, because he's kind of goes he closes off people's quirks. He's probably more of a support hero.
He's like a Batman.
Yeah, kind of like a Batman, kind of like but not even that, kind of like a Nightwing, or like somebody that helps other people kind of do their thing.
No, I mean that was enjoyable too. Like seeing the fact that they were saying like, yeah, he's not a close counter like fighting guy, but then even he said it too. He's like, well, yes, don't you think I know that? This is why I have other skills. And then he busted out like with his scarf abilities, where he kind of used it as like bandage ropes things, and that was pretty great.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, we should definitely talk about the last 3 episodes, because I think the last 3 episodes are the ones that are like really fun. But before we do that, I kind of want to ask you guys one question: like, who's your favorite character other than Deku, or some of the main, or not the main ones, just other than Deku, and also who's your least favorite, the one that you right away can see like, hey, this character needs to go away. Because for me, like, one that I really love in the first few seasons, and I thought he was going for like greatness, and I mean he is still very powerful, but I like Todoroki. I like the way Todoroki looks. I like the way that he has a lot of fans, and I understand why he has those fans. He's very powerful, very strong, very confident. Gives you that Sasuke, but without that insult. Well, maybe in the beginning you'll see that his attitude will change a little bit, Ramon.
Yeah.
But to me, maybe now that I'm calling it, like, he kind of does remind me a little bit of Sasuke, because he's very confident and his skills are great, man. And I can't wait for you to see more of him, because you're gonna fall in love with him. And he definitely has a big part of the show. I feel like his backstory brings a lot of those very, very emotional elements at the very, very end of this, where we're currently at. So I can't wait for you to learn more about that, because all of a sudden your heart's going to be a little bit broken and you're going to be like, oh man, like, I can't believe this. But Todoroki is just one of the ones that just from the first season was a fan favorite, and he still continues to be somebody that I wish would do more in the show. But again, maybe they kind of scaled him back because of the fact that he is so powerful. And that's one of the things with watching the first season. I just couldn't believe how powerful he is with his eyes, because now I'm at the point where he's using ice, and I think he uses more fire than ice lately, but his ice abilities are just so freaking strong, man. And I love that about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And something that you learn in the second season is why he uses ice so much. But like that's his like, that's where he excelled, because that was the main thing that he did. But yeah, I like him. I think the one that I like, that I kind of wish that they included more, is probably Ida, because he does kind of like, I kind of like how his personality kind of clashes with a lot of the other people, and I like his power. I think it's really cool. And then I don't know, I feel like they're able to do a lot more with his quirk.
Because you will get an episode where he has, like, they present his abilities in a god level format of animation, Ramon, and it's so cool to see just how fast he can truly move. So I do agree with you. And his costume is great, like his whole family's costume. Is
Yeah,
cool.
I was gonna say, I'm like, that's the one thing that impressed me about him, is when they finally talked about his like lineage and how his legacy, because of like his brother like being super badass and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, like, he was definitely an impactful one. I mean, least impressive was that fire hydrant guy, but he was very minimal. Like, that was just in the very beginning.
Oh, well, I'm talking about his classmates. So like,
oh yeah, no. That's what I was gonna say. Least impressive was the fireman guy, but okay, so yes, classmates.
Water.
Yeah. I was just telling you from the first season. That was a guy. I'm like, what the hell is this? What am I watching? Why did we animate a fire hydrant to become something? But no, out of his classmates, I think the one that I like the least is probably the one with the navel laser beam. Maybe again, I see the potential. I just think he's freaking goofy. I think everything he does is just kind of very like presumptuous. He's just very like, oh, I'm so fancy with my navel laser. So it's a little different. But my favorite person, or at least the person that again, well, we're still talking about classmates though.
Yeah.
Because damn, that's a little tough.
Yeah. Because for me, I mean, a second one that I kind of want to give a quick shout out to is like I do like Momo, and Momo's the one that can create anything out of her body. I love the way she looks. I love how smart she is. She's another one that got in, I think, by somebody recommended her, and I still don't even know much about her, Ramon. Like I still honestly couldn't even tell you her family or anything about her. But she's super smart, like another leader in the group. So I like her a lot. And I don't know if now you kind of give you the time to like think about who you don't like.
No, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I will say with Momo, she kind of reminds me of the girl from Jujutsu Kaisen, the one that has
the glasses.
Uses all the one that uses all the cursed weapons.
Okay.
She kind of gives me those vibes, but yeah, I like her too.
Wait, remind me, who was Momo?
Momo's the one that can pretty much she can think about a material thing and it can come out of her body.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the hottest one. Yeah.
The one that's all exposed. Yeah.
She is the hottest one.
And it was funny because like she stood out in one of the episodes.
Don't call me out on it, Ramon.
No, I mean, I know your type. So, no. Okay, so yeah. So I guess again, least favorite was the guy with the naval lasers. I think my favorite. I don't know, man. I guess I didn't see a whole lot of it. I like the way that he looked, but the bird-headed dude, and I don't know his abilities quite yet, but doesn't he do something with like shadows or something? Okay.
Dude, he's awesome. He's awesome.
He's the one that like when I saw, I wanted to see more of him right away because again, you have other characters that are like really okay, awesome because you see other characters that are really explosive, other characters that obviously like Todoroki that you hear that he was like basically referred and all this stuff. So, but like he's the one that I was with the bird guy that I was definitely very curious about, and they talked a little bit about like his like shadow ability, and after that I'm just like, dude, what is this guy about? And I think he just looks so cool, and knowing that he's probably human but with the quirk that makes him bird like he's probably the one that I do want to see what he's about, again just because it's so like new to me that I still don't even know the potential. Like you guys said, these powers evolve sometimes. Like
dude, I love shadow powers, and honestly, I'm always telling my wife that if I could have powers, they would be shadow related powers. So, the idea, just something for you guys to know about me. But yeah, so the idea of not picking them, obviously that kind of tells you that some of these characters are really, really good and they're gonna have great abilities. As far as people that I don't like, I'm gonna give two really quick. I know I'm kind of cheating here, but I really hate Mineta, which is the little guy with the sticky balls.
Oh, goodness.
Another cuss where he could fucking die, dude. I fucking hate that character.
I mean, I kind of agree. He was so whiny. I'm just like, just drown already.
He's a perv too, dude. He's a freaking and I don't like that. I don't know if that's why they made him look like a baby, so all of a sudden it's okay for him to like hug girls and touch their breasts. But it's like, dude, I fucking hate you,
dude. Dude, when I was watching it, like I thought, like, wow, for once it's not gonna be like a super pervy show, and then all of a sudden there's this kid that's super pervy, and being all pervy to the one character that I didn't know was a girl for a while, Asui, the frog girl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's not a girl.
No, she's a girl.
She's a girl. Okay.
But I didn't know that she was a girl. Like, okay. I thought it was a boy for a while, but then.
Well, here's the one that I think really should be out of this roster group, and I don't understand what she can even do in battle, and I haven't seen do anything in battle. But why the hell do we have Toru, which is a girl that pretty much has her powers to disappear, so it's just invincibility? Yeah, in my opinion, that character can just go away and disappear out of the show.
I don't think she's done anything.
She hasn't done anything. And I'm like, what's her power? Like, what can she do besides like be sneaky and like punch somebody around? Like, dude, like Ramon,
I,
again, somebody you'll forget that's even there, and I don't know if that was the point of it.
And
That's
that's
the
kind
joke
of
they're trying to make.
yeah, and it's kind of funny because she is invincible, and then that's just it's one of those things where like and the fact that she's naked while doing
She's
it too,
naked the
because
whole
like
time.
they
Yeah.
mentioned that, and I'm like, really, is that necessary? Like you already have Quirks. It's like, oh my god, what am I thinking about? Like the guy who like can only become invisible when no one's looking.
Oh
What's
yeah,
that
and
from?
a
I'm
mystery
like,
man,
yeah,
mystery
Mystery
man.
Man. Oh my god, yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Freaking Kel. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. But no, yeah. So I agree with that one for sure.
no. I think the most impactful thing that she's done is when she is somebody else used her quirk.
Maybe.
That's the most impactful thing that she's done in the whole series.
No,
Yeah.
and Ramon, I'm gonna warn you right now. Do not say anything bad about the frog person because she has a crazy amount of followers, and
Yeah.
so I will not disrespect her
I like
name.
her though.
And I
I
like
like
her,
her.
You
and
know,
I
yeah,
like her,
yeah.
but do never disrespect her. People will come at you.
You know what? I think she obviously towards the end of the season when they're like fighting and then they're on the ship like her and Midoriya and the little pervy ball dude. Yeah, like I mean she definitely does some cool stuff and even she's really amazed by freaking Deku's like little finger flick that he does to like really like hit the water and stuff. So no, I liked her. I mean she was one of those like I thought she was kind of goofy looking at first because she's just like with her tongue sticking out every time that she's in her like hero ability, but when she's like normal, she's just kind of like regular. Um, another weird one, not bad one, but another weird one. I couldn't figure out the girl with the freaking jacks, the
Pink hair.
headphone jacks.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's
Jiro.
pretty cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, that was just one that I'm like, really? Like, what is that? Like, she has headphone jacks that she could plug into anything and then make sound attacks. That was different. That was
That was
definitely a
different.
different ability that I was just not expecting that these people could do. And then the guy with the arms appendages that can
Yeah,
replicate any body
body
part
part.
into that. Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
that could be a little
You,
weird.
Yeah,
it's funny, Roman, because you accused me of like loving Momo because of the way she looks, and clearly, her costume. I understand why you're saying that, but I think for some reason I have a little bit of a crush on Mina, which is the pink girl, the
Oh,
slimy insect one. I don't know if it's her black eyes, but something about her, man. Like I don't know if you gave me a choice, I would struggle.
wouldn't I see. I see. I get it. Little love for the bug action. What are her abilities, by the way? Because I mean, I don't think
Acid,
I don't
acid.
understand. Oh yeah,
She
that's
throws.
right.
She can throw
Because she
acid.
gets it on the cape of that one guy, and then he's like over here
yeah.
freaking out that like he kind of she kind of
Uh,
ruined his cape.
all right, dude. Let's talk about these last three episodes so we can close this out. But Ramon, what did you think about Tomoru Shigaraki? Like, what did you think about him? To me, dude, he left a big impression, and I kind of was like a big follower of the guy right from the beginning.
You got to walk me through it. That guy with all the hands all over him.
With
Oh,
all the hands,
Oh,
dude,
I
yeah.
mean,
yeah.
okay. So yeah, definitely, I love him because first of all, that was like the coolest, sickest thing that I've seen so far. He was definitely the one that kind of had the most like horror, kind of like darker tone to him. That and like the big shadow, like the freaking teleportation void dude. But no, he was really cool because I was really interested or really intrigued by him because I really want to know what his abilities are fully. And later you do see that he can kind of like crumble people by touching them. And I don't know the full extent of his quirk, but he just looked really cool. At first, it seemed like all that group of villains was kind of a joke because they even mentioned it how some of them were kind of like lower rank, like amateurs, sorta. But he definitely seemed like he had some really good strength to him. I'm just really excited to see what else he does. Like I know at the end he really got beat because obviously All Might shows up and he definitely kind of steps in and really kind of takes over the fight. Um, but I mean, unless you guys want to talk about him, there was one person I want to talk about before, and this is when we were talking about like favorite character. Before I realized you were talking about classmates. 13, is that the name of that astronaut black hole teacher?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was like the one most impactful person, especially in the last three episodes too. And I know she didn't
Yeah.
do, or yeah, she right. I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
she
No.
didn't do a lot, but like her
No.
ability or quirk just seemed like beyond crazy.
This is the one thing that I will let you look up, Ramon, because I had even forgotten about her to the point where I saw her in the
Yeah.
new season, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah!" Like now that I saw the first season, I'm like, "That's right, that's her." But they actually do the justice of showing her face in the new season where
Oh,
we're at, and I'm like, "Oh, cool!" Like I'm glad that I'm able to watch the first season, and now I appreciate the way she looks in the when I finally saw like her face, the way she looks. Look it up,
Yeah.
bro. Yeah,
Did I miss
Yeah, that's
that?
crazy.
you
That's
missed it. You missed
That's
it.
crazy because like wasn't she like empty like inside the suit at least in this season like she's empty and it's just like I mean that's what really fascinated me about her is like her ability and then also the fact that like once they kind of like hurt her it was just definitely like a damaged suit and there was nothing in there but they did talk about how she wasn't really a fighting hero she was more of a rescue hero so that's kind of
Yeah.
what killed me with me but I was really intrigued by her absolutely.
No, no, she's just like she does have a body and it's like a really cute girl. So again, from what I
Mhm.
remember, I saw her recently, and again, I didn't really care because I had even forgotten about season one. So like
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
I saw her and I saw season one, I'm like, oh yeah, like cool. Like I should have cared when I saw her face.
Well, talk to me more about the guy with the hands, but I definitely want to talk about Nomu also because that was, or is that his name? The
Oh
bird.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
But
Yeah.
talk to me about the guy with the hands because I mean, at least at this point, like obviously he
Yeah.
comes back.
Well,
Um,
Ramon, just letting you know, you're gonna get so many more nomus that you're not gonna be able to count them. No matter how much,
oh
how many times,
no,
no matter how much you go like this, you can't count how many nomus you're gonna see in the show.
dude,
Um,
no, Nomu made me feel like I was in Elden Ring all over again. Like just doing the most, doing the having the strongest ability, doing whatever you can, and it's just not even enough. Like not even face the dude.
Now that I remember that he was captured, not killed, I'm like, oh, maybe there's a chance that he'll come back where me and Ro are at. So I'm
Oh.
kind of holding my fingers for that Nomu specifically to come back because his abilities were actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that was like probably the craziest fight in the whole season was like All Might
Oh
and
yeah.
Nomu when like All Might realizes that he can't like actually hurt him because he absorbs the freaking
Yeah.
impact, but then he's more about like tiring him out and there's again that's another thing with this anime already. I'm really impressed by some of the animation when you get to the fights because that fight was really cool. Like he's just punching and punching and punching and he's just kind of
Yeah.
non-stop and it's just like you already know that All Might is kind of going through it with him barely being able to hold his power, but then also at the same time like really trying to hurt this thing that's like freaking unhurtable and mobile. Like there's just nothing that he can do. Even just the fact when Deku like punched him, I know obviously Deku's not that strong yet, but his power is pretty strong and
Hmm.
barely faced him. And All Might did recognize that as being like, oh, even he didn't do it, but I don't know. Yeah, that was just an impressive like little character to see, and you could tell that he's more of a tool or more of a kind of like resource that they use to kind of like try to get to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, Ro, do you want to go in and explain a little bit of Shigaraki without going into spoilers?
Sure. Yeah. And the big thing that I'll say is whenever they go into his backstory, it is going to break your heart so
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it hurts me even thinking about it.
Oh
But yeah,
no.
like so you totally understand why he is how he is. But yeah, like the first time that I saw him, I thought it was like badass and kind of like eerie and creepy and like what's wrong with this guy? Especially the way that he's acting because
Yeah.
he looks like he's in withdrawal. He looks like there's a lot of things wrong with him, like
Yeah.
psychologically type of thing. So it kind of gave me like Joker vibes a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I thought he was awesome. He his power is that he like destroys or disintegrates or whatever.
Decay.
Decay.
Yeah,
It's a
decay.
Yeah.
decaying
Yeah,
power. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So you saw I think it was with Eraserhead that he
Yeah.
touched
His
his elbow
elbow.
and it started kind of like kind of crumbling a little bit.
And
Um,
yeah, because
yeah, he'll also get stronger.
and let me tell you right now, Ramon, the next time he touches somebody, the moment he lays one finger, he will destroy your whole. It's not longer gonna be like, oh, I'm touching you for 5 seconds and I'm slowly decaying you. It
Yeah.
will be like if he touches you for 1 second, your whole body is gonna disappear immediately. So they won't be doing that again with, oh, I'm touching you, but you're not really dying because going
Yeah.
forward, anything he touches is just gonna decay immediately.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like threat. Like it's a really good threat.
No, man, and besides Tyrone Biggums from Chappelle Show, I have not seen a character be that scratchy all over his body, and I like that.
Oh yeah. I did forget
Tyrone
about
Biggums.
that.
And I like the fact that he's always like scratchy, like if he's just like like wanting crack.
Absolutely. I totally forgot about that too because he does starts getting a little anxious and all of a sudden he's just fucking going away. And then that was cool too because then you see that's his actual hands and not all these these other hands that he has around him. He's like sitting there just like it's, which again, I'm excited to find out more about him because I still don't know what makes him do that.
And it's crazy to think that all the other hands are his like emotional support hands.
Yeah. Okay.
That-
No,
Okay.
seriously, they really are.
Yeah,
no,
it's like his little
and
support animals, support hands.
and Ramon, I don't want you to feel like, oh, the Lego villains came in with all these like little like underwhelming people that they really didn't do nothing. Because going forward, he's actually gonna develop a squad, so it's no longer gonna be like he is with 100 other people. It's gonna be like here he is with like 10 really strong, really unique, really characters that you follow throughout this whole show. So that should really get you excited.
Like to some of them.
So as of right now, he is the leader of the League of Villains, right? And then that other the shadow teleportation to the Kurogiri, like that's like second guy or like just one of the other guys. I thought he was pretty cool too, just because of his abilities. I mean, obviously, like you kind of figured that he was still like part human in there and he had a whole body, but I just like their plan to kill All Might, because they literally were gonna trap him and like chop him off in half, like.
Yeah, and dude, it's not a spoiler, but the person he was talking to in the TV, that is going to be All for One. So
Like the at the very end, gotcha.
yeah, and I don't think that's a spoiler, just because you're always going to be wondering like, why does All for One talk to this kid? And to me, that's the part that I struggle a lot. Like, why is this relationship happening? Why is All for One so? And like
I
later,
can tell you why.
Well, yeah, of course you can. It later pays off, Ramon. But you're gonna me wonder at certain points, like, why is he so interested? But that's who that he was talking to.
Okay, I was over here thinking it was gonna be some Inspector Gadget type of thing, where it's always a silhouette in the background petting a little cat.
Well, I always expected. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but
no, but yeah, and then but his name is All for One. Okay, like even just the name alone, I'm like, dude, let me know. Like, does he get introduced in the very next season, like season 2, or
maybe the third. I think the third one.
man, you bet your butt I'm gonna fly to the movie.
I think his main part is probably in the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
But because I started watching the second season because I couldn't wait.
Rowan, you know what I like too? That the doctor was right with him in the first 12.
I
13
know.
I was like, dude, I'm like,
oh, that's him.
Yeah, so like there's a doctor that was with him, Ramon, and that doctor's gonna play a big part. And when I was watching, I was like, oh well, that's just something they throw in there, and they never laid the seed for it. But like now that I heard him, I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool that he has always been there with One for All.
Huh. Okay. All right. I'm excited. I mean, there's just so many things. Like even you guys talking about it too. And again, I just been dying for this. But like even just you talking about All for One, because I was very curious and I was gonna ask you guys like without like spoiling the entirety of it, like who is that guy at the very end who the dude with the hands is reporting to?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
So before we end this, Ramon, will we be doing a second season review of My Hero Academia? What do you think?
Absolutely, man. These are fun. I like you guys treating me like I'm a freaking little kid learning how to freaking read. It's like, all right, what's the lesson for today? You got your vocabulary words. No, man, it's really good. I think this is a really great way because I can't be the only one out there that's always wanted to watch some of these. And, they become, like I said, fan favorites for you guys that watch more anime in general. And then for me, now that I'm still, like, even though, like, I have a good amount under my belt already, now I'm finally getting to the ones that I've been waiting for. Like Naruto was such a big flavor of love, and now I'm ready. Like this seems like nothing to be able to get through like 6 seasons. Like I bet you by like maybe in a couple weeks I'll catch up to you guys, and I'm excited to be there. So absolutely down for the second season recap and just kind of talk about it. It's fun. I mean, as we go, like pretty great.
No.
Yeah, and I'll say like I kind of wish I had this when I was watching them because like I watched My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, Hunter x Hunter,
So many of them.
Full Metal Alchemist. Like I saw all of these when like all of my friends had already seen all of them. So when I wanted to talk about like, oh, I just saw this, I just finished this season of this, like kind of like you, like I wanted to talk about it, and then it was just like everyone had already seen everything,
Yeah.
and there was like nobody there kind of watching it. So I would have loved to have done this when I was going through it.
Honestly, this is why this is great. Like the reason why we're doing this, like I feel like in general, like Carlos, like obviously we all have a passion for these like nerd content and stuff like that. But I think part of it is discovery, man. Like we do that within our own world before we started recording this and talking about it. Like you guys are always suggesting things. I'm suggesting things back. We talk about these things, and I feel like we're not the only ones, obviously. And there's people that yes, they're like levels above us, and they sit there and they research everything, and they know like every single little detail to these. But then there's a lot of people that, man, like me, I'm just like, I'm along for the ride. They're so enjoyable. Like there's so much to it. And I'm happy to be here with you guys and just being able to talk about these because, again, just having this conversation back and forth makes me even more excited for the second season. And man, you bet your butt, by the time I get to that sixth one, like I'll definitely be right there as a fan. So yeah.
All right, man. Well, again, thanks, guys. This has been a great episode, and I'm gonna get us out of here by doing Texas Punch or Delaware Punch, and
Philadelphia Smash.
so again, guys, you guys have a good night, and I will
Hey, good
talk to
morning.
you.
Bye bye.
Bro.